This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. October 10th is World Mental Health Day, and this year we are saying thank you to therapists. BetterHelp therapists have helped over 5 million people worldwide on their mental health journeys. That's millions of stories and millions of journeys. Behind each one of them is a therapist who showed up, listened, and helped someone take that next step forward. Moments in therapy, like asking the right questions, having a safe place to get emotional or cry, or small wins, they can change lives. This World Mental Health Day, BetterHelp is honoring those connections and the therapists who make them possible while showing how easy it is to get guidance from a licensed therapist online with BetterHelp. I've been doing therapy for over 2 years and I couldn't recommend it enough. It's helped me so much with relationships with my friends, families, even myself. It's helped me understand myself better, and it's just made for such a better life. It really has. With over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is the world's largest online therapy platform, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for live sessions based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This World Mental Health Day, we are collaborating with those therapists who have helped millions of people take a step forward. If you're ready to find the right therapist for you, BetterHelp can help you start that journey. Our listeners get 10% off of their first month at BetterHelp.com/PFF. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/PFF. Chargers Commanders. Washington wins this game 27-10 in Jaden Daniels' triumphant return from that knee injury, which he says he's all good to go. All good to go, and obviously the scoreboard reflected that with how Washington was able to play in this game. Top 5 graded players that we had for the Washington Commanders: wide receiver Deebo Samuel at the top of the list with a 80.6, edge rusher Von Miller an 80.4, defensive tackle Jerzon Newton with an 80.0, defensive end Dorrance Armstrong a 79.5, Mike Sammers still a 77.4, Jaden Daniels in this one an 85.9. On the Chargers side, defensive tackle Tyler Tart with a 93.1, wide receiver Keenan Allen a 75.7, running back Amari and Hampton, who I believe has a high ankle sprain is what I saw this morning, leaves this game with injury, 74.9, safety Alohi Gilman with a 70.5, and then defensive tackle Justin Mboigbe with a 69.3. Justin Herbert, not a terrible day at the office, an 84.1, but obviously not enough to get it done here. Stat told the story, Dalton.
I'll go on the Commanders' side, and
Okay.
I think physically we've talked about this plenty, right, where the run game is really what balances this team out, right, especially without Terry McLaurin. They have to be good on the ground because when they're balanced, that's when they're the most dangerous as an offense. Now, Deebo Samuel had a great day. Luke McCaffrey with the catch down the middle of the field before halftime. First of all, unbelievable catch. Second of all, for the Commanders to play generally as not great as they did in the first half of this game and go into halftime tied after that catch, that was big-time stuff, I thought, and they really had the momentum going into halftime. But a big stat for me, Commanders, 145 rushing yards after contact. 74 of those were your guy, Bill Krosky-Merritt. You'll get into that. 58 of those were Jaden Daniels. All right, since the start of last year, the Commanders have 14 games where they have at least 100 rushing yards after contact. They are 13-1 in those games. And the one was actually last week against Atlanta where they just couldn't get a stop. 13-1 when they have at least 100 rushing yards after contact. When they get the run game going, they are really, really good. And since the start of last year, including the playoffs, they lead the league in yards after contact. They are third in yards after contact per carry. That's the difference. They have balance. They control the pace of the game. They get enough stops on defense, which after the first couple drives, obviously, after the first quarter, they shut the Chargers out, which is great to see on their side. But the fact that they could, you're going to get on the other side of this, but that they could run the ball, especially with the physicality that they did, and then they could stop the run, two big elements there for the Commanders to win ball games.
Yeah, the run defense, which has been something that we have talked about for this team as not good, was good in this game. 73.6 run defense grade. Bobby Wagner had an elite run defense grade. Luvu and Kinlaw both above 65. I mean, when this team can stop the run and they can force you into less favorable passing situations, then that certainly helps out their secondary. So it just has felt as though the Commanders have not played a complete game on defense so far this season. There's always been something that's been struggling about whatever's been going on for them. And so them playing a lot better in run defense, I think, was huge in this game, especially because when you look at the Chargers, they're an interesting team because I wanted to break this down with them. The Chargers have faced 69 third downs this season. That's the third most in the NFL. They're 28th in EPA per play on early downs, but they're 25th in total rushing attempts on first and second down. So I wondered to myself, are the Chargers being too conservative and running the football early? And they're really not. They're 25th in total rushing attempts on first and second down. But it's when they pass the ball on early downs that they're actually not pushing the ball far enough. They're actually not completing and, I guess, just attempting the passes that you would need to keep the EPA per play up, to where not only are you keeping that number up and healthy and moving the football and converting first downs a little bit earlier, they keep getting in these third down situations. I mean, third most third down attempts in the NFL. That's not where you want to be. You want to be trying to convert these first downs a little bit earlier. And obviously with Amari and Hampton now hurt, that sort of now goes against that even more for them. And so it has felt like, as much as the Chargers are controlling things, right, they haven't been super explosive on the early downs. And I think that has showed up in this game, in my opinion, where they were shut down a little bit more by this Washington front that was able to play better than what they have the last couple of games. But that is really something that stood out to me, is just Washington's defense played a lot better, and I wanted to give them their credit. But on the Chargers side of things, this is a good football team that's not super explosive in the early downs. And I think that's something also to monitor moving forward with them.
Because as much as any team in football, and this was the fear when we first heard about Rashawn Slater.
And this is true. The offensive line absolutely goes into that.
This is the injured. I don't know that they can fix this, because here's your lowest graded offensive lines in football, all right?
Okay.
Cincinnati, yeah.
Well, we'll get to that next game.
Miami, yeah.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, injuries. Chalk it up. They'll be higher than that by the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then the Chargers.
Yeah.
No Slater, no Alt.
No Alt.
Trey Pipkins, who was already a backup starting for this team, he got hurt in this game.
Yeah.
Mekhi Becton got hurt again in this game and now says he's going to put a cast on his hand and play with a cast next week. Bradley Bozeman is playing through a back injury, and Zion Johnson was their highest graded lineman in this game. Cool. This team, as much as any other, they are trying to find a way to weather the storm. Justin Herbert's doing his best. He is their highest graded player. He is succeeding in a lot of those third down situations that a lot of other quarterbacks would not. But much in the same way that Baker Mayfield has had to scratch and claw and dig through these offensive line injuries and all the injuries the Bucs are dealing with, Justin Herbert and this team, they're just going to have to find a way right now, especially at least until Joe Alt gets back and it stabilizes at tackle a bit. Because you look at some of the names playing on the Chargers O-line right now, no, they can't win with that.
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah.
So I think their entire season right now comes down to, can they? I don't know how long Joe Alt's supposed to be out, because it's high ankle sprain with him too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Out. When's he getting back in, and when's he getting back 100%?
Right.
That's right now to me the key to their whole season. If he's out for some extended period of time and they look like this on offense, and that's the early down question you're asking is, hey, they can't run the ball. Why? No offensive line injuries. Hey, they're bottom 6 in pass blocking grade. Why? Injuries. It sucks. It sucks to put it like that, because I would like to get into some big schematic thing. That's the fun part. But they don't have anybody up front right now.
Yeah.
The Slater injuries was already overhanging. And now you have the Alt injury and Becton and Pipkins and Bozeman playing at probably 80%. It's not good. They can't block anybody.
My most impressive, Bill Krosky-Merritt.
Of course it is. I intentionally knew not to take him
Big
because
Bill, baby.
I already knew. It's your guy.
I go back to watching him at the East-West Shrine Bowl and how he just looked different. Like, he just looked different. And you go and you look up his background. You go, okay, played at a little smaller school, goes to Arizona, plays in one game, and then the NCAA goes, no, you're not eligible to play anymore. Okay, so now there's like no tape on this guy, but very clearly when he was out there in the Shrine Bowl, he just looked like a future NFL player. In this game, 14 carries, 111 rushing yards, 74 yards after contact, 70.6 rushing grade. I mean, to be honest, though, when I watched him, I felt like I was – and I don't think there was anything – within the rushing plays where I would have given him a little bit more credit here to like bump up his grade. But you watch the plays that he is in, and he has, at least yesterday, he had such a fantastic balance of playing fast but patient. And it's such a delicate balance in the NFL with running backs where You want to wait to set up your offensive lineman to block things the right way, because there were a couple of plays where he needed to wait for linemen to get to the second level. He needed to wait for linemen to get to the outside for outside zone rushing attempts. There were a couple of plays where there were lead blockers that he needed to stay behind for a little bit. And the timing was so perfect from him in so many of those runs. I was just so impressed with how he was able to play even outside of the stat sheet. So Bill Krosky-Merritt was great for this team. And then the Chargers. This is back-to-back games now where they've really struggled with penalties. They had 14 penalties for 107 penalty yards against the Giants the week before. And they had 10 penalties for 85 yards this week. I mean, this is not characteristic of a Jim Harbaugh team. I believe I was reading this on Chargers.com, where in the first 21 games of Jim Harbaugh's tenure, they only had more than 8 penalties once, I believe. And now they've had it in back-to-back games now. So they're dealing with injuries, but they're also just kind of losing focus a little bit as a team. And they've got to tighten up a little bit here if they're going to kind of right the ship and manage these injuries.
With these O-line issues, they don't have the margin of error for mistakes like that, like penalties. They're not turning the ball over, really, but they just don't. They need to win on the margins right now, because their offense is not going to be as good as it was in the first couple of weeks and kind of what we were projecting throughout the season because of these injuries up front. Again, they have to win in other ways on the margins, and their defense has to be better than it was in this game, especially against the run, for them to win. But credit Washington. And on the other side of stopping the run, like you mentioned, he wasn't in the top 5 overall because, he doesn't cover quite like he used. He doesn't run like an open space like he used to. But, dude, give me Bobby Wagner, man. Any day of the week. If you ask me, at least just for run defense, which middle linebacker you want, the only other one I'm thinking about is Fred Warner. Because Bobby Wagner, I mean, you can just see why he's going to be a Hall of Famer when he's in there in the box, just seeing everything happening up front. Just an elite feel. You mentioned, too, about the receivers and the whole thing you went on about Stephon Diggs and just the veteran savvy. Bobby Wagner has that in just spades, and it shows up every single week. He's still putting up at 36 years old a 90 run defense grade in a game like this. I mean, just unbelievable stuff from him. So, again, I know overall it's dragged down. I think he gave up he was charted with 6 or 7 catches in coverage, which I go, okay, he's not going to cover Ladd McConkey in open space. I'm aware of that, but still an elite player on the inside. Just unbelievable stuff.
Anything else? We're going to go to the next one.
Nope.